Hey, friends, welcome to another episode of Not Your Mama's podcast. The title of this episode is Harnessing Mindset and Emotional Intelligence for Full Body Wellness. In this episode, we are speaking with Tommy Snider, who has worked 50,000 plus hours of transforming his clients, which include CEOs, stay-at-home moms, entrepreneurs, doctors, and pro athletes spanning for 18 years. His goal is to cure metabolic and nutrition-related disease while pulling the power back in his clients' hands. Tommy, thank you so much for coming on. I always love talking about wellness and how to be better at it. Can you give a little bit more about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Well, that's a 30-minute conversation, so I'm going to try and condense it. For early on in fitness, 20 something years ago, I realized that there was a challenge. Everybody was looking for freedom and high levels of health, the body composition they wanted, basically all of it together. And starting out as a top personal trainer in the United States, I realized that there were so many gaps, and the goal was to fill in the gaps along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And how so meeting with someone, 30 minutes a week, going over their results, what they actually want to achieve, habits, rituals, standards, nutrition, exercise, mindset, all the things are needed to reach our highest state in our bodies and also in our minds and our hearts. So for me, my whole career has been about that, is seeking that for others so that I can show up as a beautiful mirror for them to experience whatever they wanted and achieve whatever they wanted in life.
No, I love that. A beautiful mirror. So you like the reflection of like kind of what you want to see. So how do we harness this mindset to transform ourselves? And what were some of the things that you noticed that were missing, the gaps?
Yeah. Well, the mindset wise, I always say that the body is the pathway to reaching whatever you want in your life. It's the opening.
Mm-hmm.
And since a lot of our bodies are closed, they're inflamed, we think freedom is eating whatever you want, versus like what fuels my body and gives me super high energy, and therefore I can do whatever I want in life. That to me is freedom. And so I've been able to fuse like maybe the diet mentality and then also what people want to eat, and then bringing it together as one whole piece. So then they can understand what they want emotionally, but also define what they need biologically, and then that's where the freedom occurs, and it destroys that mentality, and then everything blossoms from there.
Okay. And so what were like the gaps that you noticed were missing?
The
In
gaps, the gaps are everybody focuses on taking away food when they don't feel good instead of putting it back in.
Mhm.
So I care about a stabilized blood sugar with food and exercise alone. So in the same environment, I help people reach their body composition. I can basically cure type 2 diabetes in 10 weeks and get rid of heart medication in the same time period. And that's when the body feels empowered. And then that's when everything opens up to where you can start to elevate your mind, get those higher level states of like consciousness, and then also making sure that your body feels really empowered.
So did I just hear you correctly? You can cure type 2 diabetes through working with you and the types of diets that you help people put on and regulate their blood sugar?
Yes. I'm
Oh,
not necessarily allowed to say cure, but put in dormant.
okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Help
Yeah,
them acclimate and adjust their body to regulate.
every time. So missing pieces of food actually spikes your blood sugar, and then your body unconsciously looks for things to feel whole.
Hmm.
So we're always taking away something, it's not going to feel whole. So that's not an environment you're ever going to survive. It has a timeline. So what we want to do is make all of that disappear. And so with food, that's the main thing. And then how do we eat pizza, tacos, hamburgers, like whatever the thing is that you feel connected to, but assimilate in a way that it feels really good instead of the opposite. And that's what we're taught. And that's where we have this limiting belief of like, oh, this isn't free. I want to be over here and just do whatever. And that's why people yo-yo all the time. And
Hmm.
so that's one aspect of it. And then also like I use the hero's journey of health. I've just designed that myself, but I've acclimated to health journey. And usually there's three different levels that people have to upgrade. So once you have all the scarcity of like, I would feel better if I could just lose 10 pounds. And as soon as that happens, usually about 12 weeks, 10 weeks or so, those voices disappear and you feel good. That's when people relax. That's why 90-day diets never work, because that's when you get to move into an abundance phase. And then that is where I unite the mind and the body at the same time. And then all of a sudden you become understanding of what it feels like and moving into it. And then the last phase is building on, finding your highest self in your body, in your mind, outside, culturally, all of that. And then that's where the true freedom occurs. And usually that happens. Those sections are usually divided into 90-day cycles. And so that's one aspect. And then the other thing is healthy accountability. I don't think we understand that as a culture.
Yeah, can you explain like what is healthy accountability? Because I think accountability is super important. But how do we set boundaries in it, and how can we make it, healthy, like you were mentioning?
Yeah. A lot of times when it's regarding to nourishment, I call nutrition and diet nourishment. Um, a lot of times we have codes of, oh, if I'm not perfect, I lost. Or, oh, I'm going to go have this cheat meal because I need to get away from what feels not whole, right? To feel whole. And we don't have to draw those lines. And so being able to look at your body composition, understand the changes in your body that are happening, and also like the rituals or the tiny things, the tiny steps that make up the whole piece, and recognizing those steps. So I help people like tap into like proud energy, and being able to look at any challenge that comes along is actually the wisdom piece that we need to build onto the next week. So we don't look at it that way. We look at it as like failing, right?
Yeah.
But I help them find out why, and then they're like, oh, okay. And I also help them realize it's not them; it's just their environment that taught them. And then we don't have to have any attachment to being them. Really, we just work on, oh, this is cultural stuff. I find out what is me, and then we redevelop like those new neural patterns to create what they actually want. And so that's kind of like more mindset. And until you when you uncover the layers of your body and really feel what power is in your body, then you can have more access to that. You're more excited, you're inspired. And so I'm a master at asking quality questions because we all have the answers inside. And at that point they just reveal actually what they really want, because most of us hide what we really want. We can't achieve that, which I think is not fair. So that's why I exist. And then also exercise. Our culture looks at it as, if I can put you out of breath and I can put you on the ground, then you worked out. That's not the way metabolism works. What we want to do is say, oh, well, if every single exercise process that we have is actually lowering our body biology and lowering metabolism, meaning overtaxing the muscle mass with too much cardio. If you're out of breath, you can't actually lift to your max potential. It takes 45 seconds for your ATP in your muscle to refill again. That's the smallest amount of time. So if you're not taking that break and you're doing something in between that, chances are you're not getting the max results that you need. So it's a lot more simple than we think. And because I believe that America especially hasn't found the balance that we need, we overcompensate in areas like exercise. And otherwise, gyms would be lined with before after pictures from floor to ceiling. Not happening.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like helping them discern what all of that is. And everything I've learned, most of it has been on the back end of things and not typical education. And we've developed that over time, which obviously having 50,000 hours of experience, that's a test, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit long test. And so for me, like taking the body fat percentage, watching the weight, looking at the way the mind reacts, seeing how humans like can alchemize themselves, all of a sudden that gives me the answer and the keys to the kingdom.
So my question to you is then, since we're talking about like working out, like let's say for me, like stay at home mom, would like a 20-minute workout be good for me? Because I sometimes I use the beach body stuff because it's hard for me to get to the gym. I have to do like at home workouts. And I usually pick like the half hour, 20-minute workouts. Like can you still reach your goals by doing just 20 to 30-minute workouts 3 to 5 times a day?
Week, yeah. So
Not a week. Yeah, a week. Thank you. Not a day.
you know, so I build it. So I meet wherever someone's at, and then I build it as their body grows in the most simplest way possible. So say the challenges of working out at home, which half my clients do, is like once you get to a certain level, there has to be some period of a way of growth, right?
Mhm.
So for challenging ourselves or challenging our muscle or metabolism, then like where's that point of growth? And so most videos or something like that, like I have a client get to a certain place and then they'll be kind of knocking on a ceiling. So I'd come in there and be like, okay, well, what's your next tiny step? And so then I'd lead them to that as simple as possible without, because time is the biggest thing, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And and if you're condensing in the time, it's very important. And so most of my clients work out anywhere from between 20 minutes and 45 minutes, but never typically over that,
Okay.
because at that point the body starts to protect itself. It doesn't want to let go of anything that it doesn't need.
Hey, friends, I hope you are enjoying this week's episode of Not Your Mama's podcast. This podcast would not be possible if it wasn't for the support of you, my wonderful community. To support your mama's podcast, please click the support link right down below, and you can donate just as little as 99 cents. Also, follow me in the Shop Like to Know It app, where you can follow me with all my exclusive content, all the way from baby products I love, fashion and style, and everything in between. Now, let's get back to the episode. Yeah. So when like people are working out in the gym for like 2 hours, is that kind of like pointless?
It is, because nobody's eating enough. Even if, whether you're not on a diet or you are, nobody is.
Yeah.
So at that point, if the muscle isn't hydrated enough, it's going to fall back and protect itself, which there'll be a layer over the skin, and you will notice that layer versus like have the muscle be really tight to the skin, firm. And this is without hormones, right? Because a lot of people are taking hormones now to like accentuate
Yeah.
their muscle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. They're putting the shots in their butt. I've met a few of those meatheads. I'm like, that's not good for you. I think you're gonna have joint pain when you're older.
exactly, because like your muscle is still dehydrated,
Yeah.
but it's trying to grow so fast, but then that's when it starts to tear. You know,
Totally. Yeah. And you could totally tell when people are juicing it up at the gym or wherever they are. You could totally tell. I'm like, you just don't look like your body's built to be like that big.
changed a lot in the last 5 years. I'm sure you noticed.
Yeah. I'm like, you look a little beefed up there, dude. Sorry. I just think it's hilarious. Um, Okay, so kind of switching gears because I know I struggle with this is like the food, like food preparation, how to sustain like a healthy type of diet because sometimes I'm just like nibbling at like my kids' leftover meals, which are like chicken nuggets or whatever. Like, what can you give like advice for moms, especially like me, to like get on track with like a healthy diet and like food prep? Like, what was something that you would say who's struggling with the nutrition part of their journey of health?
Totally, yeah. I mean, a lot of moms I work with have 4 to 6 kids, and I'm like, wow, like I commend you, first of all. And, and time is the most valuable commodity. So like where you spend your time is everything. So for me, what I say is like, okay, plan your stuff really easily. I have a metric of like helping with dinners. I have a metric of helping with many things there to support. And then also like prep should be fun. Prep should be fun, right? It's like, oh, say you have an hour, like say on Sunday or whatever, whenever you go to the grocery store, and turn on some music, turn on an audiobook, like play a little bit, create a bridge for yourself so where your kids like aren't impeding on that fun, and you're not like being the mom, but you're being more you. And that's nourishment. That's giving back to yourself. So there's not a lot of times, as moms like have space to give back to themselves. Dads too. But
Yeah.
at the same
We
but
forget
it's
about the men sometimes. Men do struggle
important.
and have it differently in the world than women.
Exactly. Yeah. And to me it's simplicity, and everybody's at a different place in their journey. So to be honest with you, it's not a one size fits all, but I think the perspective of it overall is unhealthy. And because we end up being last in our lives and not putting ourselves first, it's kind of like when you're in a plane and the oxygen comes down, they tell you to put it on you. Because if you can't take care of you and the whole environment is not as aligned, it's going to lower your energy more and more. And I
Mhm.
have a great, maybe I'll send it to you to help understand that.
Oh yeah, no, I would love to check it out. I can even put it down below in the show notes where people can reach out to you and say hi. Um, I
Cool.
think it's really important that people have balance in their lives. And like we were talking about accountability, it's nice to have a coach to like help you through um things that you're not 100% knowledgeable with, like how to get your, metabolic rates at like the normal level. Like I barely know what I'm talking about here when it comes to health and fitness. All I know is like, okay, eat things that are on the outside of the grocery store and, get a workout in. But beyond that, like I wouldn't know how to like really get rid of like my extra belly fat or etc. And accountability. It's nice to have someone to fall on, to talk about your struggles and to help push you through. And when you're having doubts about yourself, it's nice to have someone like you in their corner to help keeping them going, help them change that mindset. And that's what I really like about you. I like that you focus on not only just like nutrition and working out, but the whole holisticness of it, when your mind and your body, because if you're not in tune with like your emotional self and like your mind, it's going to be a struggle reaching those goals that you want, and pushing through it when you have those moments of doubt in reaching your goal, in fitness and health, whatever it is that you're, trying to achieve.
Absolutely. Yeah. I teach like high levels of fulfillment. I actually teach people how to do that. Because if you learn how to fulfill yourself, or you're just being intentional or present when you are, you're not going to be reaching for random stuff that actually lowers your biology. And those,
Hmm.
those little signals are a signal that, hey, there could be more to this, right? Let's take a cookie, right? If you see yourself like reaching for something like that, not to say that's bad and you should never do it, but to me, I feel like those little tiny things of reaching are a map to find exactly what we need in a deeper way. And that could be a bunch of things, but I do use something that I call the six human needs. And when you have those buckets of needs and those fulfillment buckets and have a map for it, you'd be like, oh, this is why I'm doing this, or oh, this is why I'm staying up so late because I don't have enough free time for myself, right? Or oh, I don't get to go on a date very much or dress up and feel sexy and powerful, and I'm just in yoga pants all day, uh, that life, and it's normal. So like if we know it's normal for everyone, then we can kind of make a step in the direction that empowers us. Otherwise we kind of feel alone, we don't want to put that on anybody else, and it's like it's almost like a secret to be
Hmm.
unlocked, right? And we should all be fulfilled, but nobody has taught us. And my theory is that if we really knew how to fulfill ourselves, nobody could sell us on how.
Exactly. Right. I totally agree. That's a great line right there. Yeah, because I know I feel like especially in Western culture, we are consumerism. Like that's, we have to be helpless in order for them to sell us a product for something. Like take this pill, you're gonna lose weight or whatever it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. The low hanging, and if it's a low hanging fruit, it's not going to be as big of a charge up for you. You
Mhm.
want like long charges, and that to me, that's love. That's like lighting yourself up. And when we don't have enough of that, we go for these little hits, social media, Netflix, food, quick vacations when we can like literally live on vacation all the time.
Totally. I agree.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, I have 4 questions I ask all my guests, and I can't wait to hear what your answers are. So, my first one is, who and what inspires you?
Hmm. Everyone that I encounter, because everybody has a story,
Mhm.
everybody has a victory, everybody has a challenge. And I always get excited about why I'm in front of someone. A, they're teaching me, and B, I get to have like an even transference of knowledge, connection, all the things. And I always tell my clients, like, I'm just so thankful for you because everything that you're speaking, everything that you're translating to me, like allows me to translate that to everyone.
Mhm.
And to me, that's a gift, and I honor it deeply.
Oh, I love that. Good answer. And the second one is, what is something you wished you knew when you were younger?
Mm, I wish I knew how to eat the way I do now. Um, Mainly for energy. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, like, what's your compass? Like, how do you do all this? Like, how are you able to do this for life?" And most of us think it's the way we look. If our energetic state is super high and feels good and doesn't like crash all the time, then you're going to have the body you want. And like our my two goals for people are, do you feel free and do you feel exponential? Those two things, if everything could line up with that, boom, you have what you need.
Mhm.
And that's really huge. And I didn't really start to feel free. I mean, I started doing this like when I was about 21. I'm about to be 42, and a lot of it during my 20s, we're a little bit more in our ego, right? How we look, this and that. And so it's really like, oh, do I feel attractive so I can find a mate? Or do I feel self confident in my body or be able to wear what I want? And so a lot of that was for that. And plus, it just felt good,
Yeah.
right? But then,
Tot-
like when I get to the 20s, then it becomes about, ooh, I just want to have super high energy all the time.
Mhm.
And when you have high energy, like you have long lasting youth. Because for me, I can play with anybody at any age at a high
Yeah.
level. And that's important to me.
Good answer. Yeah, you want to be comfortable taking your shirt off in the bedroom. So
And if you're all bloated after you ate and it's Friday night, all you're gonna do is lay down.
yeah, exactly. Netflix
Yeah.
and chill. So, so my third question is, what's the essential part of your daily routine?
Mm. I teach people how to sit with themselves and create stillness because our life is always about doing so that we can validate our existence.
Mhm.
But to me, it's about being in touch, being grounded, and connecting to yourself without all of that. And so morning and night at least, I will sit for 10 or 15 minutes. I actually did it before the call, where I'm searching for any lower vibrations in my body. Most Americans wake up on very low on the vibrational scale. Oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, da da da.
Mhm.
Start your day is how you end the day. So being able to tune myself to a higher state, abundance, joy, empowerment, freedom, love, all of those things are what we actually want. So for me, I just say, oh, how can I get there? And usually I use music to tune myself based on whatever I need. And so just acknowledging the lower state is self love. And if I can use my breath, and I do breath work to do that, I can pick one song to move that and be able to identify why it's there. And then all of a sudden, the second song is to step into that higher state. And then I feel it illuminate all of my body. So then when I go into a client scenario, I'm not passing anything that I don't need to be passing to them.
Yeah,
Very important.
that is
So
very
that's my
important. No, it's good. You got to be on your A game when you're with your clients. So that's
always.
awesome. And then the last question is, the best advice you've ever received.
So many things are flushing like into my thoughts, but the main thing that comes up is using the metric of abundance versus scarcity. Abundance is love, scarcity is fear. One is your higher self, your spirit. The other is your ego, or the thing that's keeping you alive. Most people stay there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be here. So that filter helps me basically drape unconditional love over any piece. And if I'm not there in any choice that I'm making, then I immediately move to where I want to be.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. All right, Tommy. Well, thank you so much for coming on today's episode. It was such an honor to have you on. And again, I have all of Tommy's links down below in the show notes. Don't be shy. Go say hi. And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.